We're here on the Upper East Side of New York City at the Ronald McDonald House, a place offering shelter and comfort to children and their families who've traveled to town for the youngsters to be treated for cancer and other illnesses at area hospitals. Our subject today is the power of family, and our guest, who's a longtime supporter of the Ronald McDonald House, is a man whose belief in family has enabled him to enjoy a really happy life while achieving great success. The irrepressible weatherman and co-anchor of the Today Show, Al Roker.
Bill Boggs, how are you, my friend? Look at you.
No, look at you.
I'll have a tutti frutti. That's very nice. You're very pastel. I like that.
I'll have a tan.
That's right.
One question.
Yes.
You know, is it true that the way you do your forecast on the Today Show is run outside, look at the sky, and run back in?
You know, I've never heard that one before. I'm going to drop you like a bag of dirt before this is over.
Bye.
I can sense it. I can sense it already. It's already contentious. Me and Boggs, the main event. Let's go talk.
All right. Al, why Ronald McDonald House of all the charities?
Well, here's the deal. I mean, you have family. We've all come from a family. I've got a family of my own, and I have kids. And in a sense, and this, I don't want this to be too maudlin or too rambling, I have lived with cancer in my family. It's been my parents. I can't imagine what it would be like to have children and have cancer. You have to deal with those kids and have cancer. So, you know, when they asked me to take part in this, I thought, you know, this is terrific. How can you not want to support the Ronald McDonald House? You know, there's such a need. You know, I mean, look, you've got 14 major cancer centers in this area. And these people come from all over the world, all over the country, all over the tri-state New York area. And their lives have already been turned upside down. Their most precious possession, their child, is stricken with cancer. So this place gives them some sense of normalcy. And
a place to be.
Yeah, a place to be.
Not some anonymous hotel.
A place to be, a family.
Good.
And look, there's the emotional component of it. There's the financial component of it. If you've stayed in a hotel, even a moderately priced like a Hampton Inn or something like that, that bill can rack up pretty quickly.
Oh yeah.
So on so many different levels, the Ronald McDonald House is so deserving of all of our support.
Good.
And that's why, you know, when they asked me, I mean, I remember when there was nothing here. I mean, I was here when they broke ground.
Cut the ribbon.
And it's just such a great charity.
Let's move on to, you have a talk that you give, The Power of Family.
Yes. What
is the essence of that speech, that talk?
For better or for worse, we are the product of our family. And look, I was blessed in that I think I had a pretty terrific family. My mom and dad, while not perfect, I think were pretty terrific people. My dad is my role model to this day. He's been gone 8 years now, and a day doesn't go by I don't think about him. I don't wonder what he would tell me. I think about what I could ask him to get advice, whether it's career-wise, raising my kids, dealing with my wife, Deborah, anything. That said, you know, we come from families, and that is our power. That's our source of inspiration, of what we know to be good and right and true, or what we know to be wrong or not good. You know, you can come from not a great family and know what you don't want to be.
What you have to overcome.
What you have to overcome, what you want to avoid. So I think the power of family, no matter what it is a positive force. And I think, again, that's why Ronald McDonald House is so terrific, because they help preserve family. And you know, look, it's like the old joke. I say, you know, when you see a business that says, we treat you like family, I run in the opposite direction. You know, treat me like a stranger. You know, because family will do to people what they would never think about doing to a stranger. That said, I think the power of family is, and family you can use very loosely. It could be your family at work.
Let me ask you about that. The Today Show family, your co-workers,
right.
They're employees, they're pros. How much of a power do you get from that group of people?
I get a lot. Sometimes we say, you know, yeah, we're like a family, the Manson family, but that's another story. No, you know what? Both on a personal level and a professional level, they are hands down the best people to work with. I mean, Matt, you couldn't ask for a more loyal friend.
Yeah.
Ann is like an earth mother. She was in our wedding. Meredith is just so terrific. Willard is literally, and I say this, I've said this before, Willard Scott is like my second dad, and now that my dad is gone, he is like my father.
I was wondering about that because I read about that in Big Shoes, your dedication to Willard. What did Willard do for you that made your life different? Almost in a mentoring sense.
He did. You know, before we started using the term mentoring, Willard took me, this was 1976. I just started at WTTG in Washington, D.C. I'm at the 10 o'clock news. Nobody watched the 10 o'clock news. I mean, we would get an
asterisk.
We would get an uptick if somebody died and actually left the set on Channel 5. You know?
I thought you meant if someone died on camera.
No. Well, we had a couple of anchors that was questionable. Willard was at WRC, the NBC station.
Yeah.
He was as big as the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C. Yeah. People don't know. He was the weather guy. He was the guy, talk about going full circle. Willard Scott created Ronald McDonald. Willard Scott, back in the 60s, McDonald's was looking for a character. He was Bozo the Clown on one of the local stations. They said, we're looking for a character. And he said, okay. He created the name, the costume, the whole concept.
Look what Bozo did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, it's like it takes a clown to make a village. But anyway, I was doing the news, the weather, and he called me up one day and said, listen, there's Willard. Come on, let's go to dinner. He took me across the street to this place called Alfredo's La Trattoria restaurant. I'll never forget it. I'm sitting here with this icon. I mean, this weather icon. In the business of television weather, at that time it was Willard, Sonny Elliott in Detroit, Frank Field in New York. That was it. I mean, and now I'm having dinner with Willard Scott, and he took me under his wing, and you know, there's not a jealous bone in the man's body. I can honestly say, I would not be where I am today if it was not for Willard Scott. After he left WRC and came here to the Today Show, he was the one that told him this kid should be doing the Weekend Today Show. I got the Weekend Today Show, and then about 8 years later, he decided it was time to pull back. And he called me up and he said, listen, brother, they're going to call you tomorrow and they're going to offer you my job. So I just want you to know I'm fine with it. I'm okay. It's time for the next generation. You know,
beautiful.
I can't say enough about him.
But something about you now, coming right out of that. A lot of men and women, boys, girls, young people start as weather people on television stations all over the United States. You, Al Roker, have evolved into way beyond weather. You have a production company that is hugely successful, Al Roker Productions. If you look at your website, it's amazing. Where does that entrepreneurial gene come from, Al?
You know, I think it comes from, I come from the Caribbean. And, you know, there was a skit that they used to do on the Damon Wayans show, the Wayans Brothers show, in Living Color. And it was all about how you were a slacker from the Caribbean if you only had 3 jobs. and that's what my dad was a bus driver. While he was studying for the dispatcher's exam, he and a buddy ran a lunch shop out of the depot that they worked out of, and he did chauffeur work, worked odd jobs. You know, that's my background. You know, that you work hard, and you try to have more than one job because you never know when the first one may go into the crapper. So you decide you always have a backup.
My father used to say, I'm a man who hustles for a living. Not meaning hustling people, but was out there trying to make it work. You did a special on the Food Network with your mother and father.
Yes.
What was it like working with Mom and Dad on television?
You know what? It was weird in that you don't want to order your parents around. Okay, we need to do this again, Mom. You know, Dad, could you say that? But you say it a little shorter. You're going on a little too long. But you know what? That hour of television is one of the most precious things I have, because not more than 6 months later, my dad was dead. You know, and 5, 6 years later, my mom would be gone. I had no idea. And so my kids, my son, my 7-year-old doesn't know my father. You know, never saw him. We found out 6 weeks after my father died that we were pregnant with Nikki. You know, so it was a very special time because Courtney got to spend a lot of quality time, my oldest girl, with them, and she got to see where they came from. And so it was at once kind of daunting because, you know, you see your parents one way, and then when you become an adult, that relationship changes. I realized how much in love they were. You know, I was watching them when we were setting up cameras, and I just would watch them, and it was like, my God, you know, that after almost 50 years, they're still deeply, deeply in love. You know, like I said, they're not perfect. My mother would drive my father crazy. They were both bowlers, but my mother was a rabid bowler, very competitive, far more competitive than my dad. And he finally said, I'm not bowling with you anymore because we're going to either end up killing one another or divorced. And he says, and I'm not going to jail for you. So he stopped bowling with her. He refused to go bowl in a league with her anymore.
Al, I read your book, Big Shoes, The Celebration of Dads and Fatherhood. I love the book.
Thank you.
A couple things coming out of the book. One is, why do you think men of our generation get so misty over our fathers and fatherhood when our own fathers had that tightness inside them and didn't really let the tears flow?
Well, you know, they weren't allowed to. It wasn't, and you know what, again, not to toot his horn, but my dad was a kind of ahead of the curve in that. He was a big hugger. He was a kisser. I mean, I didn't realize that men didn't do that until I would see I'd go to friends' home, or even my own relatives. Yeah. I remember that I've got this, my mother's sister's husband, Uncle Champ. I went to kiss him. He goes, whoa, But that's the way my dad was. But I think generally that generation, you weren't allowed, you weren't supposed to do that. I think we
feel it.
Yeah, we feel it. I think it's like, it's okay to show that kind of emotion.
When I read it, and I'd like you to quickly tell the story, when I read the story in the book about you're giving your father the car, I mean, literally, both eyes.
Well, you know, I think every son, you know, think someday I'm going to make enough money that I can either buy him a house or I can get him a car. My dad had been wanting a Lincoln Continental for I don't know how long.
The holy grail of cars.
Yes, he had wanted a Lincoln. Oh, no, I'm not going to do it. No. And look, my dad, even though he started as a bus driver, he ended up, you know, being a fairly high-ranking management official in the New York City Transit Authority. And so he did okay, you know, but no, I'm not going to. So I told him, I said, listen, Dad, I need you to come with me. I'm thinking about getting a van for the production company. I need your advice. Okay, so we go in, and here in Manhattan, the Ford and Lincoln Mercury dealer are on the same building. So I said, hey, you know, before we go, we had to walk by the Lincolns. I said, wow, look at this one. He goes, yeah, oh man, that is sweet. He's running. It was a champagne gold kind of color. He goes, oh, look at this. I said, why don't you get in? See what he goes, no, I can't do that. I said, no, just humor me, get in. He gets in, he goes, oh, this is sweet. Oh man, I said, well, you know, you're gonna have to drive it. He goes, no, because then I'm gonna want it. I said, no, you're gonna have to drive it because it's yours. He said, what? I said, it's your car. This is yours. And he starts to cry, you know. And we hug, and, you know, so we do the paperwork, and he takes off, and I call my mother a couple hours later, and I said, so how do you like the car? She said, what car? I said, I haven't seen your father. He's driving all over the tri-state, showing his pals the car. Went to Jersey, went to Long Island, went to Queens. He's all over.
That's,
you know?
Wonderful. What a story. Yeah, let me ask you this. Can you recall, Al, the first time you were ever in public with either your mother or your father and somebody recognized you?
I did. I just started doing weekend weather in New York, and it was the first weekend I was on, and they came into the city from Queens to have dinner with me. And we ate at the St. Regis Hotel, and I was walking them to the garage, and the garage guy says, I just saw you on TV. My father's buttons. But here's the thing. I was working in Syracuse, and at the time, my dad was driving a bus. And they gave us business cards. Now, I'm a sophomore in college. I've just gotten a weekend weather job. I've got business cards. What am I going to do with these? Anyway, I left a stack of them at home. About 2 weeks later, I get a call from some guy. I don't know him. He says, I just want to say hi. Okay. Now I'm getting calls from strangers finally, my dad says, I'm talking to my mother, he says, oh, your father wants to say, hey, he goes, so listen, are people calling you up? I said, yeah. He goes, I've been handing out your business card on the bus. Been telling people, call my son.
Did you tell him to stop or keep on doing
I said,
it?
Dad. He goes, oh, why? Is it a problem? I said, they could be killers. I don't know. You know?
Al, we talked a lot about your dad. Tell us about the legacy of your dear mother.
My mom, Isabel, was a very interesting, she was a special woman in that she was, you know, the matriarch of the family. She was tough. You know, she was, you know, I mean, you know, she was probably tougher than my dad.
Well, you have five children. Right?
Well, there's 6 of us.
Six.
I'm the oldest of 6, including me. And so, you know, look, she had to get 6 kids fed, out to school, lunches made, all that stuff. But, you know, she was one of these people who had a gift that she was brutally honest. And you were always better for it in that she didn't sugarcoat. She didn't gild the lily. Yeah, and
you have that quality.
Well, you know, you know who has it? My 11-year-old Leela. She is my mother. You know, she will. You know, look. You know, geez, wow, Dad. You know, no offense, you've gotten fat. You're starting to get fat again. You know, you need to push away from the table. I'm thinking, who are you? You know.
What kind of? It's been covered well. Your gastric bypass surgery. What kind of support did you get from Mom and Dad?
They were. Look, my dad is the reason I did it. 2 weeks before he died, he was at Sloan Kettering, and I would go see him before the show. And one morning he says, "Listen, we both know I'm not going to be here to help you with my grandchildren. You got to promise me you're going to get healthy. You're going to lose weight. Swear to me right now. Swear to God to me right now." And I did. And 6 months after he died, in fact, less than that. He died in October, and in January, I had the appointment to meet with the surgeon, and I had it done March 15th, 2002.
Good for him, courageous of you.
Well, you know, I don't know about courageous, but, you know, look, it's one of those things where I just knew I've tried every diet known to man.
What was it, of all the diets you've been on, the worst one?
Worst one, Beverly Hills diet. Because you got to eat, like, you would eat all pineapple one day, then all kumquats, then steak. I mean, it was ridiculous, you know? I mean, it was crazy. Then one day it was all steak. It was the nuttiest diet going. Crazy.
It worked. You're looking good.
The Scarsdale diet was an interesting one. You know, you ate, it was low carbs, and you ate high protein. At the end of it, a crazy woman came in and shot you 4 times. Yeah, it was nuts.
Dr. Tarnow, goodbye. Let's talk about food. If you and your lovely wife Deborah Roberts, just the 2 of you, could be beamed up like Star Trek and beamed down anywhere in the world other than the New York City, anywhere in the world for dinner tonight, where would you like to be?
Wow, I would say La Tour d'Argent in Paris. It was one of the most romantic, exquisite meals I've ever had. It was right along the Seine in Paris, and you order, and they're famous for their duck, and it was just spectacular.
Good answer. Now, the love of food is also related to your dad, who was ahead of the curve as a man who liked to cook.
He loved to cook. Loved to cook.
When did you start cooking?
I started cooking when I was like 6 or 7. I mean, as soon as my mother would let, I mean, I always wanted to help cook dinner, and I've always loved it. I find it very relaxing. I find it very, very relaxing.
Do you clean up?
You know, Deborah's very good in that she says if you cook, then you don't have to clean. But I do try to clean as I go, because I think I hate a mess. I hate a mess.
So in the Roker household,
yes.
Who is the better cook, the beautiful Deborah Roberts or the handsome Al Roker?
Well, unfortunately, not even a contest. I hands down am the better cook. That said, Deborah can cook. She just doesn't enjoy it. It's like my mom, you know, compared to my dad. My mom had to churn out food for 8 people. You know, whereas my dad, when he cooked, when he was grilling, it was because he wanted to. You know, that's the difference. So, you know, she can cook. I just enjoy it, so I do it.
Well, Al, let's take a look at what I call the pie chart of life.
Pie chart of life.
You've got your career,
right?
You got yourself, the time
Yes,
you need to be
yes,
alone,
yes.
and you got your family.
Right.
How is it divided for you?
You know, I think it's a movable pie chart. You know, depending on the day, you know, and the week. You know, if I'm traveling, you know, I actually probably get a little more time because, you know, in the evening I'm by myself. I could maybe get a massage or do something. You know, when I'm home, it's more the family. You know, and I try to make that chart, and then, you know, you've got to try to slice out a piece for you and your spouse, you know, like date night kind of thing. So it's a movable chart, you know. I mean, the kids want the chart to be about 80% them, 10% your job, 10% you and your spouse, but you can't do that.
What's date night like?
Date night, you know, we have always keep saying, oh, dinner and a movie, dinner and a movie, dinner and a movie. We get to dinner, we're always so tired, we never see the movie. Never see the movie.
Yeah. What, in the past couple of months, what's the best movie you've seen?
Unfortunately, it's been Up. You know, you know, we have not gone to we have not gone to a movie where the characters have more than 4 fingers in about, I don't know, 6-7 months.
That's funny. Well, Al, we happen to have a grill over here.
So I noticed.
And I can't have Al Roker this close to a grill without going over the grill.
All right,
let's
go to the grill, as opposed to the grill.
Al's 5 great barbecue tips.
5 great barbecue tips
are:
okay, 1, if you're a man, you use hardwood charcoal. Number 2, don't move your meat. 3, do not, under any circumstances, especially if you're making burgers, do not take the spatula and go, and because you know what you're doing? You're creating a hockey puck. 4, do not use a fork to flip your steak around. Use tongs. 5, if you've got a good quality cut of meat, do not, under any circumstances, put steak sauce on it. It's ridiculous.
Ketchup?
No!
No!
Ketchup's even worse.
Mustard?
No!
Relish?
No! Number 6, do not wear one of those stupid aprons that say "Kiss the Cook." You get a t-shirt, a pair of shorts, you get stuff on it.
Okay, can I kiss the cook now?
Nah.
This is Bill Boggs with Al Roker for my generation.
Number 7,